everyone, this is Tracy Fisher, your host of Paranormal Frequencies, and I'm just kind of giving a heads up before the recording starts. This was a couple of shows that I did, I can't remember, maybe a couple of months ago, but I combined them because it was about tarot cards and it was part 1 and part 2, so I combined them in this upload. And it should be a pretty good listen. I hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to hit subscribe and please hit like. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments section. Bye. The tarot, and it is very possible that this show will result in a second part or third part program to cover the topic. And this is my own research, and any comments or opinions I may have are my own and may not always represent the paranormal community or also those that are in the tarot card community. So let's get started. First of all, for those of you listening, you may have used tarot cards before. You may already own a deck, and you may already own multiple decks that you use. You may be someone who reads for others. I have a couple of decks that I use, and I will talk about that later. And also at the end of the program, I'm going to give you a list of books that I recommend as a guide when you're learning about or using the tarot. This program will deal with several aspects of the tarot, and I'll give you a few details about the history of the cards, the different decks that are out there, and how you can get them, and also I'll spend a little bit of time describing, or not necessarily describing, but talking about Major Arcana cards and the Minor Arcana cards. But to do a deep dive on those will probably require a second show. I'll also share just a few myths and ideas about the cards. So here we go. With a long history, dating back nearly 700 years, tarot cards have maintained a presence in society as a tool that is considered to predict the future and understand one's inner issues, desires, and motivations. The tarot, first known as just a pack of playing cards that were used from at least the mid-15th century in various parts of Europe. From their Italian roots, tarot playing cards spread to most of Europe, evolving into a family of games and modern games such as French tarot. In the late 18th century, French occultists made elaborate but unsubstantiated claims about their history and meaning, leading to the emergence of custom decks for use in divination via tarot card readings. Thus, there are two distinct types of tarot packs in circulation. There are those used for just card games, and then there are those used for divination. Pamela Colman Smith, she was a British artist, illustrator, writer, publisher, and also an occultist, and she is best known for illustrating the Rider-Waite Tarot deck, also called the Rider-Waite-Smith or Waite-Smith deck. Designed for Arthur Edward Waite, and he was a British poet and a scholarly mystic who wrote extensively on the occult and esoteric matters, and was the co-creator of the Rider-Waite Tarot deck. The phenomenon surrounding the use and interpretation of tarot cards can be broken down into two juxtaposing explanations: paranormal and non-paranormal. The paranormal explanation claims that tarot cards reveal hidden motives, portray opportunities, and offer a reflection of a person's inner process, allowing the cards to provide clarity regarding a person's questions or conflicts. They do not believe that the cards predict the future as if it is fixed, but rather reveal information and potential circumstances about changeable events. Meanwhile, the non-paranormal explanation claims that the entire phenomenon of tarot cards can be explained by examining two simple psychological effects: the Barnum effect and cold reading. Additionally, several modern therapeutic approaches have employed the use of tarot cards as a tool for self-reflection, with tarot card readings offering clients a sense of order and control in their own lives. There are several different reasons why people use tarot cards, and the associated applications of the cards can help to improve a person's mental health when the cards are utilized in a therapeutic context. Comparatively, the non-paranormal explanation examines the use of the tarot cards through the lens of psychological effects, with the Barnum effect being the most emphasized. The Barnum effect is the tendency to believe that vague predictions or general personality descriptions, such as those offered by tarot or astrology, have specific application to one's unique circumstances. Many standard tarot card decks, they follow the same 78 card structure. They follow the similarities of regular 52 card decks with different suits. The cards are divided into two different categories. One is the Minor Arcana, which is 56 cards, and the Major Arcana, which is 22 cards. The cards in the Major Arcana symbolize the main themes of human life, such as love, death, spirituality, acceptance, etc. The cards in the Minor Arcana symbolize the subtle mysteries of life and are considered to be lesser compared to the Major Arcana. Additionally, there are several different techniques for choosing the cards in a reading, with the most popular option being for the reader to ask the client to shuffle the cards while focusing on a question, then spread the deck and choose the cards that they feel the most drawn to. The use of tarot cards has continued to flourish, even in Western societies, and the popularity of tarot cards is not an indication of reliability or validity, but rather a look into how using the cards can influence our thought processes and mental state. The tarot cards are widely considered to have associations with magic and the occult, and many believe that carefully arranging and interpreting these cards in particular ways can be used to tell the truth. Tarot card readings can still have beneficial effects on a person's mental health when used in a therapeutic context. In a 2009 study, it investigated how regular users of tarot cards employed the cards as a tool for self-reflection rather than for divination. The study involved conducting interviews with several co-researchers who use tarot cards regularly and in a self-reflective manner, and the interviews from the study were transcribed, with the common themes and qualities that existed between the interviews being extracted. Overall, the results of the study found that the co-researchers used tarot cards to gain insight into their current life situations. The cards were found to be used the most often during difficult times when they could offer a source of comfort. This source of comfort involved providing confirmation that everything was okay and that life had a sense of order. Tarot cards were also used as a tool for positive reinforcement, where cards were drawn both intentionally and randomly to provide insights about what the co-researchers were seeking in their own lives. With the goal in mind, some of the co-researchers drew a card and then kept it with them until what they were working on or towards what had been resolved. They claim that tarot does not reveal new information to them, but that the use of tarot cards can help to provide a new perspective on an issue that can influence a plan for a possible course of action. Regardless of the reasoning behind why a person may use tarot cards, there is no doubt that tarot cards have maintained a strong presence in society, and these cards have the potential to do more than just predict the future. Tarot opens your intuitive sense. The pictures can stimulate your gut feelings and thoughts. The cards can absorb the thoughts, ideas, and any curiosity of the person who happens to be shuffling the cards. It is believed that it is the shuffler's feelings and energy that are being reflected in the deck. A subconscious wisdom is being shuffled into the cards. When the cards are placed in a spread, the relationship between the cards reveal your personal wisdom as you infuse them into the cards. And just so you know, tarot spreads are different ways of laying out the cards during a reading. Once they are all laid out, they will bring to light a particular story. That story the tarot tells every time you receive a reading allows you to know more and give you the decision-making edge that extra knowledge can provide. If you decide to get a tarot deck for yourself, there are so many different decks. Some are themed. For instance, if you are a fan of the Hobbit stories, you may possibly find one that reflects that theme. And some collect them just for the beauty and the art. I encourage you to do some research to find a tarot deck that speaks to you. You can look online, you can attend paranormal or psychic expos or conventions, which are excellent places to also search for the perfect deck. Also, look for New Age stores in your community. They also provide a great variety of different tarot decks. It is recommended that you include the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. As I mentioned, Pamela Coleman Smith, the artist, before she created this deck. It is recommended to start out with this particular deck to start to learn about the basics of reading and understanding the symbolism of the cards. There is no set rule or number of how many decks that you can have, and some have many decks, and some have one or two, like myself. It's a personal choice. I recommend checking out tarotgarden.com. They have a better, complete collection of tarot decks online, and Amazon works well too. And when you have decided on which deck that you like, and you get them home and unwrap them, take the time to look and study each and every card. Look at all of the elements and all the colors of each card. It is recommended that when you choose your cards to also get a journal, or you can also use a school notebook. It doesn't matter, which is fine. And a good first entry of your tarot journal is to describe your first impressions of your cards. What are they telling you? Let your intuition come through. The idea is to let the cards get to know you, connect with your energy. I think you will find your journal to be really helpful, a really helpful tool as you continue the discovery of your tarot deck, and will enhance your knowledge of your cards. There are so many myths that you shouldn't read for yourself, that you shouldn't do self-readings. Some people do self-readings every day, some do them quarterly, but that is not a bad thing, so it's just a myth. Many do, like I said, many will do self-readings for guidance with things going on in their lives. If you're looking for, a certain guidance or answer to something, that is pivotal going on in your life, it's no problem to do that. And another myth regarding a tarot card that they should be a gift and not something that you get for yourself, and that is absolutely not true. And I have some tips for how to store the cards. The way to store your tarot cards is a personal choice. And sometimes people will always keep their cards by their sides, especially if their urge to do a self-reading arises. They're right there for easy access, and some may store them in their nightstand. They put them on a bookshelf. Sometimes they'll find a beautiful bag or even a really nice box to keep them in. Whatever you choose. There is another suggestion and articles written about cleaning the cards. And of course, this doesn't mean put them in a dishwasher or washing machine, which I know you already knew that. But when I took a Tarot 101 class at a New Age store, the instructor of the class pointed out that usually a good solid shuffling of your tarot deck does a great job of cleaning and cleansing the deck. Right now, I'm going to actually break down the major arcana cards and some meanings. People sometimes ask what the difference between the major arcana cards and the minor arcana cards are. While they both have equal importance, they also tell stories. And the difference in the major arcana cards is think of it as your life in all caps. And the minor arcana is just your life. For instance, If you were to get a couple minor arcana cards and one major arcana card in a layout or in a reading, the combination of the cards tells a bigger message. It is thought the major arcana cards represent the bend in the road, while the minor arcana cards are the road signs. Does that make sense? I would advise to learn all you can about the cards. Look for the meanings in the cards through the artwork and the colors. There are so many books out there to use as references when you're getting to know your tarot cards. The minor arcana cards include 4 different suits: pentacles, which represent earth and grounding; swords, which represent air and intellect; wands, and they're also known as rods. So there are some books that depict the wands as wands and some depict them as rods, so you're not confused. And they represent fire and action. And then there are the cups, which represent water and emotion. And as you notice, like in astrology, which consists of these 4 elements: earth, fire, air, and water, I do not believe it is a coincidence that there's some kind of connection there. You can also use your astrology sign as another guidepost with your journey learning about the cards. This is my opinion and only a recommendation. I believe all the cards represent every element of life, every emotion we will ever experience, every lesson that needs to be learned, and every condition possible to know. Within the 4 suits mentioned above, there are 4 court categories. They are page, knight, queen, and king. And I will probably have to do another show just about these categories and the categories of the suits and the major arcana cards. As I said, there is a lot to unpack when you want to talk about the tarot cards. And there, like I said, there's so much more when it comes to the tarot cards, and through the years I have collected several books in my own personal tarot card library, and I want to take this time to share with you a few of the ones that I have and that I recommend. This first book I have in my library is called The Kitchen Table Tarot, and it was written by Melissa Cynova, and that name is spelled C-Y-N like Nancy, O-V-A. And I find this book to be really good, and it's full of great detail of all of the cards. And I read through this book, and of course it's definitely a reference for me. I have it marked with little tabs and notes of things for myself that align with my tarot cards. But I have to say, I love the way she writes. And when I read her book, I almost feel like I'm in a coffee shop, and she and I are seated in a corner, and she's telling me all about the mysteries of life. So it is a very well-written book, and I think you would find it beneficial to adding to your library. I highly recommend it. This other book is called Little Tarot Gems, and it was written by K.D. Walsh. And she was the instructor I referred to of the class that I took, Tarot 101. And she, it was a really good class. It was about an hour long, maybe a little longer. And she is really knowledgeable about the cards. She's been, I think practically her whole life has been, she's been using the cards her whole life. And she's very knowledgeable. And her book provides very unique descriptions of each card, with other useful information when you're looking to find your first tarot deck. This next book is I highly recommend. It's called 78 Degrees of Wisdom, A Tarot Journey to Self-Awareness, written by Rachel Pollack. And I am still reading this book off and on. It's a good-sized book to read. It's not like I sit and read it like it's a novel, but I off and on I've been reading it. But so far I find that out of all the tarot books that I have, I think this is very, very good. And she does a deep dive on all of the tarot cards and really goes back into the history. She refers to the artist I mentioned. I believe her name is Pamela Coleman. And I think she has like a chapter all about this woman who created the illustrations of the cards. And so if there is a book that I recommend highly, this is one of them. The other book, this one is The Only Tarot Book You'll Ever Need, which is written by Skye Alexander, and her first name is Skye. And I like this book because of its portability. It is a good pocket-sized book that covers all of the descriptions for when you're reading, doing a reading either for yourself or friends or family. And I like it because it's a good pairing with your tarot card deck that you can take with you. And it has a lot of good descriptions of both the major and minor arcana cards. Excuse me. And it is, I recommend it to take it with you, so if you're testing or playing, readings with friends and family, it's a good book to have with your cards. And then finally this book, but this book, I'm going to say, I think this is one you would hold off on until you get your first tarot card deck and start to really understand what the cards are saying to you. And then I would add this to your library. It's called Tarot for Yourself. And it's written by Mary K. Greer. And this is a really good book. It's more of a workbook. It's not like a tarot book where it tells you all about the descriptions, of the cards when you're doing a reading. Actually, what it does is it helps you build a tarot profile and your personality and soul cards. And there's lots of places for you to write in and make notes. And I think it's a really good book. I think it also kind of helpful too is after you've sort of gotten an understanding of your cards, it's almost like I think the next step into infusing your profile with your knowledge and what your intuition is kind of feeding into the cards. So I'm going to say I really believe that this book would be a great addition to your tarot library. And these books that I've mentioned are just a few of the hundreds of tarot card books that are out there. And I would say be sure to search Amazon for other books too. And also, if you're not really sure about whether or not you want to commit to purchasing a book, you can always go to your local library and ask them what they have and check out those particular books, and you'll be able to go through them and find out what's, whether or not any of them are something you would want to purchase for yourself to add to your library. And so you may find some tarot books at your library that will help you choose what you would like to have. Now, as I mentioned, because tarot is such a huge topic to talk about, and there's so many different layers and different things to talk about, I'm going to explore and talk about the meanings of the major arcana and minor cards in another show. Hopefully that'll be part 2 to this show. And I feel like as I have been talking about this, that I've barely touched the surface. But this is where tonight's show, will end. But I want to say thanks very much for listening to the show tonight. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions about the cards, or if you have any interesting paranormal stories that you would like to share and be on the show and talk about those experiences, or if you've been on a really interesting investigation and you would like to talk about it, please reach out to me at paranormalfrequencies975@gmail.com. And I encourage you to also, feel free to send me an email what you think about the show, and if you have any ideas about what you would like to hear me talk about. Don't be shy, please. I'm open to kind of bond with my audience and, sort of maybe build a community from it. So I'd love to hear from you. So until next time, my friends, I ask you to please take care, be safe, and you stay spooky. This is Tracy Fisher, your host of Paranormal Frequencies on WKDW Radio. Thanks for being here and listening this evening. Tonight, I'm going to continue my discussion of last week's show about tarot cards. This week, I want to go into a little more detail about the Major and Minor Arcana cards, their representations and symbolisms. Let's begin with the 4 Minor Arcana suits. The first suit is the Wands, or rods. Wands represent enterprise, growth, and development. These are the cards of our enthusiasm for life and our enthusiasm for living it. Wands are associated with the world of creating and ideas, with manufacturing something to make it real, just like a magic wand. Poof! It appears. Wands are also a symbol of authority or personal power. Next up are the cups. The cups stand for how we perceive our emotions. Here's where we find our feelings and sensitivity for others, our joys, our artistic talents, and even a good old-fashioned cry. Cups indicate matters of the heart-centered connections, such as attachments to people, or even animals, or to anything to which we have an emotional response. Cups are also symbolically considered the wine of life. Being associated with the element of water, cups symbolize the subconscious mind and instincts. While cups are considered the happy suit, they can sometimes be the sadder suit as well, because they deal with all human emotion. If you are looking for love, cups is the suit you want to see show up in your spread. Next, we have the swords. They represent our mind, mental ability, and action, including how we think, our logic and reasoning, and our ability to know what to do using good old-fashioned common sense. They are also symbolic of strife or aggressive behavior. When you look at the cards in the suit of swords, we can often find fighting, acts of aggression, or people in some misfortune. Swords can cut 2 ways, for either constructive or destructive purposes. Pentacles, which they actually look like coins on the cards. They represent our connection to the material world and focus us on financial issues and goods, on shelter and earthly things, including clothing, home, and financial success. Pentacles can indicate material gain and abundance of the land, or they can represent difficulties with handling finances. It all depends on the cards and their placement. Pentacles also denote the financial success or material gains you can develop in your life. Here is where you'll find your riches or your prosperity. Labor, hard work, and industrious efforts pay off and bring pentacles into your spreads. And these cards may appear when a question revolves around money or future money, wealth, or security. Within the Minor Arcana cards, we have court cards. It is considered that when one of these court cards appear in a spread or a reading, it is less subjective. It usually indicates representation of the querent, which is also known as the person who is having the reading done for them. How the reader sees the client. They are usually less complicated than the other cards. The first court card is, or shall I say, are the pages. The page represents the youngest of the other 3 court cards, Knight, Queen, and King. The page represents little impulse control. The page lacks direction or discretion on occasion. They follow instinct instead of logic and have a touch of innocence that usually lets them get out of control. They are not bad cards, and there is no ill intent. They are victims of misunderstanding, moving too quickly, and of not having enough life experience to guide them. Next are the Knights. They are not risk takers like the page, but not as stoic as the King. The Knights struggle to balance the impulse of the pages with the endurance and sobriety of the Kings. As a result, they often lose their balance. I think that because of this balancing act, the knights aren't as consistent with their focus as they could be. They are sometimes known as the frat boys of the tarot. They represent being hyper-focused or super excited, but rarely at the same time. Now we come to the queens of the tarot deck. They are grace, mercy, generosity, rage, anger, modesty, and integrity. Queens are considered the mothers of the tarot deck, the hard and the soft, forgiving and punishing. They are the dichotomies and the simplest cards to understand. They are everything. And then we have the kings, the fourth and final court card. The kings are the realization of the goals of the rest of the court, from the fresh start of the pages to the action of the knights to the nurturing of the queens. The kings pull us forward and sit us down. They are caretakers and wave makers. They are solid and reliable and trustworthy. The kings are the grown-up version of the rest of the suit. Now we're going to tackle the major arcana cards within a tarot deck. When a major arcana card shows up in a reading, take a moment to learn the card. Learn how to apply it in a reading. The major arcana cards represent the most important archetypes and experiences in life. So seeing them all in a reading can be a sign that you are going through something significant. The major arcana cards are the most recognizable and impactful cards in the tarot deck. There are 22 cards which represent situations we all face in the grand scheme of life, with each carrying a specific message of perspective and guidance to help you in times of need. While the minor arcana cards focus on the everyday action and decisions you must face, these major arcana cards reveal messages about the bigger picture of your life and its long-term direction. Though each of the major arcana cards stands alone with its own deep meanings and influences, these 22 tarot cards also tell a united story. The first card, the Fool, is the main character of this story, and his experiences as he learns, grows, and makes his way through life are represented by the 21 cards that follow. This storyline is a great description of the accomplishments, setbacks, and lessons we all learn as we go through the trials and tribulations of our lifetime, growing into whole, complete beings by the end of our journey. When a tarot reading is predominantly made up of major arcana cards, you are experiencing life-changing events that will have long-term effects. There are important lessons that you must pay attention to progress further in your spiritual and personal quest. In many of the major arcana tarot cards are reversed. However, it may be a sign that you are not paying enough attention to these important life lessons, and you need to first master the lesson before being able to move forward. Tarot helps us to help our spiritual center and gives us the faith that everything does happen for a reason. Life is a continuum. In my continued reading and research of the tarot, one of the first things you'll want to do in your encounter with tarot cards is to turn off your selective filtering system and let all that imagery in. Because I don't have much time to go into detail of each of the major arcana cards, I can name them for you with a couple of key words. If you recall last week, I recommended books, a few books, to help you with further get an explanations of the cards, whether they're right side up or inverted. In the major arcana cards, let me start from the beginning. You will know that on the cards, each of the major arcana cards has a number associated with it. And at the very beginning, we do have the number 0, which is the Fool. And they are, I guess the description with that card is young and vulnerable. Number 1, the Magician. It's a reminder that you are unique and you have many gifts. 2, the High Priestess. Most intuitive and connected card in the whole deck. 3, the Empress. The most feminine card in the deck, greatly encourages compassion. 4, the Emperor. Leadership and power and authoritative force. 5, the Hierophant. Messenger from heaven, experienced in a spirituality and guidance. 6, oh, we love number 6, the Lovers. They represent the close relationship in your life. Your love life is in need of extra attention. And keep in mind, as I go through the descriptions of these cards, these are just descriptions of what to think about if you see them come up in a reading. Number 7, the Chariot. Drive and determination. 8, Strength. Represents courage and fortitude of your heart. 9, the Hermit. The Hermit yearns to be alone, withdraw from the noises of the world. 10, Wheel of Fortune. Constantly revolving, and nothing is permanent. 11, Justice. Consequence for every action. 12, the Hanged Man. You want to make a move, but don't know where to begin. 13, one of the feared cards of the deck, Death, which doesn't always mean death. It's a very misunderstood card in the tarot. This card speaks of cycles and is a reminder that all things must pass. 14, Temperance. Master of moderation, encourages peace and patience. Go with the flow. 15, another feared card, which doesn't always mean what it looks like. The Devil. It carries themes of restraint and powerlessness. You hold keys to your own freedom. 16, the Tower. Represents destruction. Weakest part of your life must be torn down in order to build something strong. 17, the Star. Embodiment of hope and healing. 11, the Moon. Hidden thoughts and feelings, doubts and fears. 19, the Sun. The Sun card is a powerfully uplifting card. It represents happiness, joy, vitality, and optimism. 20, Judgment, where your past and your future come together. Review decisions and actions, future not set in stone, and it is never too late to make a change. 21, the World. Last card in the Major Arcana. Represents completion and fulfillment. When this card appears in a reading, you're exactly where you're meant to be. There is also color symbolism within the cards. For instance, white represents the soul, white light, innocence, purity, naivete, faith. Yellow represents vitality, good energy, healing, and enthusiasm. Orange denotes healing powers, playful fun, and flirtatious is a combo of yellow and red. Red indicates passion for life, aggression, danger, power, desire, stop sign. As for green, prosperity, growth, money, springtime, the Emerald City. Blue is tranquility, thoughtfulness, peace, calmness, and ocean. Purple represents problem solving, intuition. Brown means earthly connections, grounded, and perseverance. And black denotes an abyss, the unknown, and termination. When you read from your own deck, the most important important thing is to be objective. Take your time and don't feel like you must demand the cards reveal something meaning to you. Also know, with all of this information that I've given to you, which seems like a lot and it could be overwhelming, these are all things that you want to take in when you're getting to know your cards. Pay attention to the meanings of the major arcana cards. Pay attention to the meanings in the minor arcana cards, especially with the court. And it'll kind of come up with a combination, an overall story. And preconceived ideas can result in missed messages. It is important not to let them color what you see. But it takes time as you're going through your new deck and looking at your cards and putting together all the information that I've given you, all the combinations of different descriptions of all of these cards. The more you, practice with anything will get you to understand. And so if you decide to ever do readings for friends, family, or make it a business, then the more information you have, the more it will come to you, and you'll be able to help those who are looking for answers to questions. Of course, as I mentioned last week, sometimes cleaning or wearing in or seasoning your cards, actually I felt like I didn't give an overall good explanation of what that is and why you would want to do it. So when you are cleaning your cards or you're seasoning your cards, but with a really good shuffle, or if there's another way that you find works for you better, why you're doing this is because you're clearing them of any previous energy or even your energy, and you're kind of renewing the cards because you do not want to use your cards without properly, cleaning them from a previous use, because the person who used them, shuffled them, fusing their energy to get an answer, sometimes can linger, and you do not want the next person who is going to use your cards or shuffle them to have bits of previous energy mixed in, because it could affect the reading, and it could affect the previous person's reading and confuse the current person who's getting a reading, because there's a mesh of energy that is in those cards, and you don't want that. So I encourage cleaning the cards with a really good shuffle after every use. If you have several clients coming in, or you're going to be doing several readings, you want to make sure you clear out the previous person's energy so you get a more accurate spread. And of course, like I said, you can also, here's another way of cleaning them other than a good shuffle, is you can separate the cards into 5 decks. And what you want to do is separate all of the minor arcana cards, major arcana cards, and you want to, have, for the minor arcana suits, you want to have 4 piles. So you want to have one for wands, you want to have one for the cups and the swords and the pentacles. So you'll have 4 different piles. And then you'll have a separate pile of their major arcana cards. And what you do is, after you divided your deck into these 5 stacks, spend some time with each individual stack. You can use an affirmation, which or like a positive prayer. And I found this example in one of my books. You would say, my wish for these cards will be to read for the next person well, with confidence, the best intentions, and for the highest good. I want to talk briefly about a spread that you can do for yourself. It is called the 3-card spread. And after shuffling the cards, you're focusing on the questions that you are seeking an answer to by laying them out left to right. And this is important too, because when I was just learning about the tarot cards, I always wanted to make sure that I was pulling the card properly from the deck. So sometimes you'll see people pull it like forward and up. I've found out that you're not supposed to do that, because what happens is, if a card that's supposed to be right side up ends up being inverted, and that's just confusing. So what you're going to do is take your card from this left side and laterally pull it up from the deck, not from the front. because like I said, you don't want a card to be inverted when it shouldn't be. So you're going to lay these cards out in front of you. The far left card represents your past, the middle card represents your present, and the far right card is your future. Take your tarot book and look up these cards and make notes in your journal of what cards you got and what their meanings are based on the descriptions in your journal. In your tarot book, and be specific. Feel the cards. Let them talk to you. Let them sort of help you realize that they're helping you and guiding you through whatever questions or significant event may be going on in your life that you sort of need some guidance on. And this is the recommended daily spread that tarot card readers will do for self-reading. You can do it for other people too. It's kind of a very quick spread. It's, short and sweet. Doesn't involve a lot of cards. You also want to look through your tarot books. This is just kind of a segue here, or maybe not a segue, but just a note to review and learn about all of your the spreads that are in the book and practice those and continue to get used to the cards and listen to what they're not listen, but look at what they're, feel what they're trying to tell you. Some people will self-read every day, some once a week, a month, even quarterly. It all depends on you and what your preference is. Doing a tarot reading is a lot like teaching. You can learn a great deal from the readings, and you can do for other people by connecting to their personal energy. And after you do a reading, you might feel a tingle. That means you've gotten in touch with your higher energy and healing psychic power that we all possess. When you do a tarot reading, it is important to be objective. This means opening yourself up to the possibilities of the tarot and not allowing your preconceived notions to sneak in. The important thing is to let the cards talk. Let them speak to you. Let them come out. Read what they say, not what you feel about them. Let people experience their own souls, even if it means they must go to the edge. Take yourself out of it. The information you provide your querent, in other words, the person you are reading for, taking yourself out of it will help the querent instigate their own power. Our role as the reader is to channel information constructively. Sit between logic and emotion. Be objective. Again, I want to thank you for listening to tonight's show. I hope it was able to provide you lots of helpful information regarding the tarot. And if you have any questions about tarot cards, please reach out to me at paranormalfrequencies975@gmail.com. I hope to hear from you. Remember, I'm on the air every Sunday night at 7:05 p.m. Tell your friends, tell your family. We're live online at WKDW975fm.com. Until next week, my friends, please take care, be safe, and stay spooky.